wants to have an active participation. It, the school, a lot of schools don't actually ask parents, how do you want to be involved, or make parents part of the decision-making process. And it is, and this is what Larry Filazzo says. He says that that engagement equals it's an active partnership. Parents actually get to make decisions. And in our classroom, that means that we have to feel comfortable to let go of the control and to actually allow the parents to come and make decisions in the classroom. Now, that's a little bit scary. I know, it's kind of scary. I used to fear parents all the time, but when I started doing this, I really saw that it made a huge difference of how my classroom went, and it really helps support the kids. But there's very practical things you can do right away. And one of the first things is at the beginning, when you're just with your students, and it's not too late, but in the first week of school, you really want to get a contact list at the beginning of the year. You want to know the parent's name, the email, their numbers, and you also want to ask the student, what is the best way to contact the parent? Because different parents have different places that they're able to communicate. And the most important thing with parent engagement is communication. We have to be in communication with the parent. But communication is a two-way street. So that means not only do we tell the parents what to do, which is usually what happens, but we really need to have the parents also, we need to listen to what they have to say and their concerns. And we'll talk about how to do that. But the very first step, when you have the first conversation, when you start the very, very first one, and I say start it in the first week, after you get the information, either the email, when you get the email, the phone number, any way that you can reach the parent, your first conversation should be positive and personal. And the reason I say this is because it eases the blow later on. So what I try to do is, like, the first days, it's usually like, it used to be that I would give them all index cards, and I would say, okay, I need your parents' email, I need your parents' phone number, I need your parents' cell phone number, I need your parents. And that first week, I tried to make contact with every single parent. And then I would say something like, oh, I met Johnny today. Johnny is really funny. I'm really going to enjoy him this year. So I made it positive and personal. I had something really specific to say about their son Johnny. And we should do this for every single child. I know sometimes we have students in the class, and at the beginning we know from other teachers may try and tell us, oh, watch out for this kid. He's a problem child. Or watch out for this parent. Or watch out for that parent. Don't listen to any of that. Make it positive, because then the next conversation, or a conversation that you have, that when you're telling the parent, hey, Johnny didn't turn in his homework, the parent's not, oh, she's picking on my child. Because the first conversation, you already made the step that, hey, no, I really like your child. I really want your child to succeed in my class. So that's why I think you should make it positive, personal. If you can meet the parent in person, that's great. But if you can't, then try a phone call. Let them hear your voice instead of just an email. But if all else fails, then try an email. The next step, and I think this is for all age groups, by the way, whether the kid is 2 years old to teenagers, and I've taught, all ages. So I think that rule kind of comes in hand. Keep the communication constant. It has to be active. And I know it takes a lot of time, but there are shortcuts. And one of the ways that's a shortcut is to encourage the parents to collaborate and communicate. So part of my role also as an English language teacher, I also work on social media and I do these webinars, but I've had a really great role. I'm the Vice President of Educator Outreach for Parentella. And Parentella is a parent-teacher social network. We no longer have the forum, but we still encourage this. But I learned a lot of things at Parentella. And one of the things I learned at Parentella is that if you encourage the parents, there are parents that want to be involved. That's why we have a lot of organizations like parent teachers associations. The problem is that it's for the entire school. But if we take that and we put that in the classroom and we just have a forum, if we have a place like Edmodo, or and I'll show you other places later, but um, a wiki or a Ning, because you can get a free educator Ning from Pearson, by the way, and I'll explain what all those are. But if you have a place where parents can go and they can talk to each other and they can collaborate, then they take care of a lot of work for you. And what I mean by collaborate, and this is the scary part that kind of gets teachers, is parents getting together and they create a calendar. This is some of the things that happened in Parentella. The parents got together. They had a calendar they would create. They would make fundraisers for the class. If the class needed, for example, computers, then the parents would be the one who said, okay, or they needed books, or they needed toilet paper, or they needed other supplies. The parents would come together and they would get together and eat without the teacher as a major role and the one leading. One of the parents would actually be the leader and say, we're going to have a car wash, or we're going to have a bake sale, or we're going to do this. And they would talk to every other parent. They had each other's information, and they would make a calendar also to support each other. Oh, it's Bobby's birthday in the class. Oh, it's Susan's birthday this week. And they would do all of these things without even the teacher having to be involved. And I think that's exciting. I think it's really exciting when parents go and they kind of do this by themselves for the class. And I think that's the kind of engagement we need to get to. There are different communication channels. But when the parents do that, then they get more involved and engaged, and they really help the teacher along and take away some things and stress that we usually deal with. I mean, how many of us have had to organize fundraisers, have had to figure out how I'm going to get computers in the classroom, how I'm going to get more books inside the learning station for the reading, how am I going to get, well, parents can help and they can take care of a lot of this. You can do this through Nings, once again, and because it's a class, it's just like a small class. You're talking about a social network for a class, a place of collaboration for the class. So you can actually use the free Ning account. It would be perfect for that because you just sign up with Pearson for free, and Pearson will sponsor it. It takes a little bit of time, so you should probably do this a couple of weeks before you actually start the class if you want. Twitter, some people use Twitter a lot, and the parents will go. Parents don't have to have a Twitter account. They can see a public Twitter or follow a hashtag just like a website. So a parent, they can even subscribe to it through RSS if they have, for example, an RSS reader. You can send newsletters, and these could be e-newsletters. This can be a monthly newsletter. This can be a paper newsletter. It's up to you. It depends what kind of technology is available to your parents. A Facebook group. A Facebook group, I think, is the best option if you're doing Facebook, because in a group you can attach documents. You make it private. It's whoever is invited. You can make it very private. Parents can get involved. It's really, a lot of parents are already on Facebook, so it's not that much of a hassle to go to a Facebook group and to check things out. You can create events. There's a blog. A blog is another option, a class blog where they see announcements. SMS, some parents aren't going to have access to the internet, so you may need to text them. Edmodo, a wiki, phone calls, email. These are all communication channels that you should think about. And the question becomes, though, which should I choose? Well, that's a very good question. And basically, it depends on your situation. Some of the questions you may want to ask, at the beginning, I ask my students, which communication channel, I do a survey, which communication channels and find out the ones they already use. Are they on Facebook? Do all of them have cell phones? Do all of them have the internet? So these are things that I ask the students themselves as well. I even ask them, how, when, your parents, how is their English? And some of us are in these situations where we have students whose parents have, I remember teaching a class and there was 12 different countries. That was that was 12 different languages. I didn't know 12 different languages. So these are some of the things. Some of you, though, will be in a country where it's only one language and you know the language as well. So these are things to think about. Um, Thinking about, if they do use text messaging and have a cell phone and this is what they prefer, I ask the parents, do you prefer this? I try to find out the cost, benefits, things like that, which is going to save you time. For me, I've really thought about Facebook groups because I'm already on Facebook. I'm already on Twitter. I'm already checking these feeds. I can do it through my cell phone. This is a fast option for me. I also do a wiki for my parents. I have a wiki, englishstorytime.pbworks.com. So I have several different things that the parents can look at. I also send emails, but these are the forms that I think are good for me in my situation. When I was in Germany, this is what I used. Now, when I was in Texas, I used all of these as well. I don't do a blog because I think it's, for me, I didn't have the time to do that. I chose a wiki instead. And the good thing about a wiki is when you update a wiki too, you can also send an email to parents. You can make a wiki private, and also if you have PB Works, which is free, then everybody can have an email. They can even have access to it and update it. So think which will save you time and which do you have access to. Also, one of the questions should be which your school will allow, because sometimes, our schools will only allow certain communications. Make it user-friendly, whatever you decide to use, whether it be a wiki or a blog or a Modo. And Modo is basically like Twitter, but it's private. I've used Edmodo. I really like it a lot. I think it's a great forum. I use it with my adult students sometimes, but I usually don't use it with parents just because it's another forum I have to go to. But I always go to my Facebook group, so I kind of use that one instead. Google Translate is great. So if you're in a situation where you have several parents that don't speak English and they speak other languages like that you don't know, then take the same email. What I do is the same communication, the email that I sent or whatever is on the wiki. Then what I do is I already ask the child what at the beginning. Remember when I said to do a survey? I already asked the student how well, does your parent speak English? And if not, then what kind of language, what language does your parent speak? And then what I'll do is I will translate it. And usually my email is something like, I'm very sorry. Whatever your language is not my first language, but I want to communicate with you, so please excuse my bad Portuguese or my bad Japanese or my bad, and then I do the Google Translate. I write it all in English, I put it in the Google Translate, and then I just choose the language, and I'll show you what that looks like in a little bit. And then what I do is I actually ask the child, because they're learning English in my class, and chances are they know enough English to kind of help the grammar. So we both work on it together. And I say, do you think your parent would understand this? So this is not for every single child. This is only for the children that they have told me, my parents only speak this certain language, and they're not going to understand what it is. And Google Translate's really fast. You can just copy and paste the same email and just send it all the first week. I mean, it doesn't take that long. And for me, it saves time, because in the end, then that means that I'm going to have less of a hassle trying to reach this parent and getting in arguments with the parent and having to deal with my administrator, trying to defend myself against the parent. And that's what happens when we don't have the communication set in the beginning. And this is what happened to me in my first year of teaching. So that's why I recommend this. I have screen tutorials on my wiki. I have a video tutorial on how to use the wiki, on how to navigate the wiki. And I'll show you my wiki in a little bit, but they can click on it and they actually see how my cursor moves around and clicks on the different buttons and stuff. Use multimedia and visuals. If you're teaching the parents of English language learners, then we have to make it user-friendly for them. They have to understand how to navigate it, and a lot of times they can figure something out through using visuals like pictures and multimedia and not so text heavy. Um, Easy navigation. Put a lot of buttons. Let them know, this is, and I'll show you what this looks like. So that way they know where to click. In all of my wiki pages, at the end, I try to put, not only on the sidebar, but at the end, I try to put back to home, back to the home page, back to the home page. And you'll see that repeated a lot. And the reason is because that way, in case they don't realize it's in the sidebar, they understand how to get back to the home page by just clicking that button, or back to the top. A translation bar. So I'll show you what these look like. This is Google Translate. I can basically type anything in here in the Google Translate. I just copy and paste the email that I already did, and then I just choose the language. I can choose English, I can choose, here it's Portuguese, but it could be anything, and so this is what Google Translate is like for the email or newsletters. On the wiki, there's a translation bar that I have. It's free. It's on my PB work. I just chose it under the options, and what it does is it translates any page into any of these languages. And in my screen video tutorial, it shows how the parent can do that. So that way they can come. I've tried this a lot of times. When I was in Germany, my English wasn't that great to begin with. And what I would do, and it would really help my German a lot, and a lot of your parents may be in a situation where they want to learn English too. So it really helped me to have this translation. And I would translate pages into the German, and I would figure out, I knew basic enough German to be able to figure out what the page was trying to say. That's not always true. But if you have more visuals and you have uncomplicated sentences and you have very little text, then it's more likely that the translation will work out best. Okay, so that's why I say watch for the language that you have inside your wiki, because then the parent's able to just click this little bar and then they're able to translate it, and it's very close to the same understanding in their language. This is what my sidebar looks like. It's very easy. School connections, younger kids activities, songs and chants, finger plays, about story time, past theme, and I put all the themes. So I just make it really simple. I had a younger kids class in Germany and the older kids class, so they could click on those, and then they could go. This is what this green tutorial looked like. And that was on the first page. They could just click this button, press play, and it showed them all of the wiki. That's actually what my children's wiki looks like. You can see the translation bar there. And keep them coming back. So a lot of times, teachers will tell me, well, I have this class blog or I have this class wiki, and I do so much with it, but the parents, they don't really read it. Okay, well, this works for students too, actually, this how to keep them interactive and how to keep them coming back. And this is how you do it. Have polls, important polls. For example, let's say that, once again, we need suggestions for reading, okay? Then, have polls, different polls where the parents get to make decisions. Would you rather have, I don't know, a bake sale? Would you rather have this fundraiser or a car wash? Or what kind of, fundraiser would you like to have in order to get supplies for raise supplies for students who don't have the money to buy their school supplies, or something like that, And when parents take the polls, and then you do the decision that was suggested in the poll. So you actually, what they voted on. It's not just a silly thing. It's not like, what's your favorite song, or do you prefer this or that? But the poll actually comes into action, and that's the good part of it. Is because then the parent sees, hey, the teacher really values my ideas and my opinions, or they see that the rest of the parents voted on this. This was the majority of what the majority thought, and they don't blame you for the decision making. then they see, oh, well, this was, something we voted upon. Okay. So you can do that with polls. Have a suggestion area and have it anonymous. So that way, parents can just tell you things. Like, for example, in my wiki, one of the parents suggested, have the lyrics for the songs. So that's why I put the lyrics for the songs in the wiki. Have student content updated. Like we said, the child is the most important thing for the parent. So the parent will keep visiting if this child is on the wiki or the blog or the website or wherever you're at. Have important announcements that are, and you don't have to do this. That's the thing, is you might think this takes a lot of time, but you can have children or even the parents themselves responsible for this. The child is in the class. Each week, have a child ahead of doing announcements on the wiki. I think sometimes as teachers, we take on too much of the responsibility, and we don't do enough like delegation. And I really believe in delegation because, one, it keeps the child busy. It makes them feel like they're really important and have a leadership position. And also, you can rotate these tasks. Every single child can have, every student in your class can be a content creator or can update the wiki. And that's the way it should be. So that way you have everybody involved in collaborating, because that's what class collaboration is. Have them do the multimedia and visuals, have them updated constantly. And like I said, the students can do that. And then have the parents as content creators. Have an area where the parents can suggest a song that they heard in English. A lot of my parents a lot of the songs we have, my parents would say, hey, this is the English CD I bought. This is the English songs we have. Can we learn this? And can the students have this in the classroom? And I would say, yeah, that's a great idea. And then that's the songs that we would use. And each week, or a parent would get to actually suggest the the class song, the English song that we would learn. And then also they got to tell me which books that their children had already read in English with them, and then we got to use those in the class as well. So I think, the parents have to be decision makers as well, and they can actually put in the content inside whatever kind of forum you use. And offer several communication options. Like I said, some of your parents, I found that a majority of my parents did fit under one category. Like all of them had email, pretty much. So there was only one class that I had where the parent didn't have the internet. But all the parents had phones always. They always had email. Even if they didn't have the internet at home, they could access the internet at work. And this was very important to know, when they could access it, when they would actually access it, and how often, and this kind of stuff. And it worked for me. Email actually worked really well. But I had several communication options available. I was very flexible. And if I needed to print out the email, then I would. And for that student, I would make um, the the exception, and yes, their parent would get, a copy of the email. So I think, we have to be very flexible with what communication options we offer. So the important thing is the parent gets the information. And now we're getting close to the end, but we really have to ask ourselves as educators in the classroom and teachers, are we really prepared to allow parents to make decisions? Are we really prepared to have them become active collaborators inside the classroom? Because once you make that step, and I understand it's a giant leap, because like I said, my first year, I wasn't very good at this. I was terrified of parents. I was really terrified. And, the worst case scenario that I could think of was that a parent would come in and get mad at me and tell my director that I was a really terrible teacher. And guess what? That happened. Actually, I had one of the parents come in at the end of the year and, yell and say, oh, my my child says you all you do is make them do textbook work, and you sit in your desk all day, and you're a really bad teacher. They never speak English. And I was thinking in my head, oh my gosh, that's so not true. And, what do you do in that situation? And yelling and saying, I'm going to talk to your director. Well, then it was at this point, and my director really supported me and said, no, I've seen your curriculum. I know that you're very engaging. And, out of all that one parent, at the end of the day, I thought about it. And that one parent, I couldn't let that get to me because there were so many more parents, the other 20 or 30 parents that said, hey, you did a great job. Thank you for taking care of my child. Thank you for helping my child to succeed or learn English. And, so I couldn't let that one parent get to me. And so I started making bolder steps, and I started making sure that I communicated with parents more, that I really made them have decisions. And I invited them in, and I decided that I was going to be very transparent. And when I did this in Germany, this is really, really scary, but when I did this in Germany, when I made the step to allow the parents to be contributors, the parents they told me, they weren't always so happy, but they were really happy with me. They weren't always happy with all the decisions or things we did, but they were really happy with me because they said at the end of the day, I remember a parent telling me, you really care about the kids, and I can tell because you put so much work. You're always showing me what you do. And so that is what a lot of parents can do. Make sure every parent contributes. Every parent can contribute. They can be guest speakers maybe. They can oversee in field trips. They can, they can suggest field trips. Maybe their place of business is the field trip. They can help equip the class. Maybe their ties with their company. Maybe, you never know. When we get in communication, and for example, we need technology in the classroom, a lot of the parents, they work in these businesses, and maybe they can get their companies to donate whatever we need in the classroom. Maybe they can donate books. I've had parents before come to me and say, my library is giving away a whole bunch of books. You want me to come and bring them to you? But, the reason they did this was because we were in constant communication. They knew what we needed inside the classroom. Parents who knew, hey, this child, Bobby's mom, or they can't afford to buy him the supplies or calculator or whatever for class. I've seen parents in Parentella get together and come with a fundraiser to get Bobby those supplies. So, I mean, really great things happen when you allow the parents to be contributors, every single one of them. If the parent works 2 or 3 jobs, that's okay. They can contribute somehow. They can either bring in baked goods. A lot will send things with the child. Maybe they'll bake a cake. Maybe they'll do something for the fundraiser at home. Think of how, if you have a website, you have Edmodo, or you have a blog or a wiki, then see how they can contribute through the web. See how the parents can get involved online. And a lot of them will do that. And then finally, host a parent workshop. I do that at the beginning. I try to make it the first month, and I'll give you some tips. What's a parent workshop? Well, a parent workshop is basically a session that says, look, I'm using technology in the classroom. This is what I do. I like to, publish kids' works online, and that's scary for a lot of parents. It really is. So these are some tips for a successful parent workshop. And it's also a way for me to open the conversation and get to know a lot of them face to face and shake their hands, because ultimately the first communication, I want it to be very personal. I want to be able to shake their hand and look in their eyes when I say, hey, Susan is a really good kid. I'm so excited to have her. She's just so smart and has such a great personality. Or, I want them to see how genuine I am. And I want to let them know right away all the exciting things we're going to do in the classroom, the fun we're going to have with the kids, Have activities for the kids. So this, I mean, if you teach really young ones, I used to teach 2-year-olds all the way to, teenagers. So for the really small ones, we would have a movie, and we would have another teacher. If you do a technology workshop with other teachers together, maybe you get the whole English department. Maybe you have a teacher that you do similar things with. then maybe you both hold that workshop, together on the same night, and you have activities for the kids. So have somebody, or even ask, have a, have a movie. We would have a movie for the kids, and people would watch them. Um, so that was really good. Have an open discussion. I'm going to tell you already, a lot of your parents are going to have concerns. They are going to say, I'm not really sure my child should have their work published online. I think text messaging, if you use cell phones in the classroom, make my child not be able to read anymore. I'm tired of my child always on the computer. And they will tell you things about this, because this is the kind of, we have an open discussion. I'm ready for this. I know there's going to be a lot of things that they're not comfortable with. That's why we're having this workshop. And have solutions ready. Have ways to be flexible. Don't just come into the meeting and think this is exactly what the parents have to agree to. And if they don't agree to it, then, well, then that's it. I don't know what I'm going to do. No, have different, be flexible, have solutions ready. Be prepared with examples. So a lot of the times the parents are reluctant, but the reason why they are reluctant is because the parents don't realize what you're doing. So I show them, the class collaboration projects, like, when my 4-year-olds did a digital storytelling with the the 6-year-olds in Turkey, and they see this and they get so excited. I show other teachers examples. If I don't have any student examples, then I show theirs. If I say we're going to use Storybird in the classroom, I show them what a Storybird looks like and what a 5-year-old did. I show them what avatars are. I mean, I have examples to show them because they're really new to this technology and they don't understand what you mean. For them, this is all brand new. So come with real examples you can show them that they can get excited about, so they can see the great learning that's taking place. Because ultimately, they want their child to learn, and they want their child to learn in a fun way. Have forms, calendars, information ready. Anything you need them to sign, have it ready there. Have a calendar of events. Show them in the wiki where all of this is accessible, where they can get it. Have them each walk out with the way to contact you. Not only the way you contact them, but the way to contact you. Make sure, you have all of that stuff. Be prepared. Record or live stream it. You can use Ustream. It's free. You can use, there's a variety of live stream. There's actually one called Livestream. You can use Vocal. A lot of them, VOKLE.com, for live streaming this parent workshop. And what you do is just angle the camera to where it's just you and the PowerPoint or the LCD. So that way you don't get the other parents in the picture. That way, you don't have to worry about consent with that. But you will tell them at the beginning, this is being recorded just to let you know, for only the other parents viewing, and make it private, make it very private. Make sure that it's not a public one. And record the parent workshop, because there are some parents who are just not going to be able to make it, their jobs, their schedules. So then what you can do is you can let them see the recorded version, and then they can follow all the necessary forms and calendars and everything like that from the meeting because they attended the meeting. It's a little bit of a task. Some of the parents may not want to, but just say, this is really important. I wanted to make sure you didn't miss out in the meeting. So here, this is the way. But this way you give two options. First option is they can see it later, and even parents that attended, then they can go back and they can see what what happened in the meeting and things like that. But the other one is that if you live stream it, then some of the parents may be able to just access it from home. So maybe they can't travel, maybe they take the bus, maybe they're not very good with public transportation, or they came late, then they can still access it from the live stream. And there's a lot of parent-teacher meetings being live streamed, and parents following it from home, the live version. Follow up, make sure the week after that you say, hey, follow up with any of the ideas, the forms, the signatures, and things like that. And then, importantly, again, incorporate their ideas. Whatever they suggested, not whatever, but, many of their suggestions, try to implement, to show them you care what they think, that you want them to be engaged. not just involved, that you're not telling them this is, the difference between engagement and involvement too is with engagement, you're asking, how do you want to be involved? How can we work together? How can we collaborate together and work together to make sure your child has the best learning journey in my classroom? And the other one, the involvement, the difference is the involvement, you're saying, look, this is how I think that we should work together. Or this is what I think you should do. And this is what I'm already doing. So that way your child will be able to learn best. But really, you're not asking, you're telling them. So the other way, you're inviting them in the conversation, you're listening to their ideas. And it's important we listen to our ideas, because at the end of the day, the one that knows best about how the child learns is the child and the parent. So we can learn a lot from the parents, and we can really give their children a great learning experience. So if you have any questions, I'll take those. Let me go back to the meeting. And hopefully everybody was able to hear this. Tell me if you were. I'm going to stop sharing my screen really quick. Come back. Sorry about the bandwidth. I hope that was very helpful and you had some good suggestions, and hopefully that helped a lot, because I really want to make sure that you learn these. I'm going to go ahead and share with you my wiki, and then you can kind of see what I've done with the wiki as an idea. And if anybody has any suggestions or comments or good resources, just let me know. Let me share the other link. Also, it's the bit.ly link. And this one, you can find all the resources, bit.ly ELT, capital ELT, lowercase links. Bit.ly, capital ELT, links links. If you'd like to ask a question, just type it in the chat box, and then I'll give you the microphone, and you can make a suggestion or tell us what you do to engage parents. Yeah, I think so, Tim. It is great to always dialogue to involve parents. Oh, 5. Oops, let me give you the hand option here. Let's see. Okay.
Hello, you hear me? Okay, thank you, Shelley. I think that is it's really great webinar for to give us tips for taking the parents engaging in teaching and learning process. Well, I think that I like the thing that you said, one word, that learning is a journey. Really, it's a real journey. It's not all about the games, but this journey needs, real cooperation and cooperation from, three elements in the triangle. The parents, let's say, and teachers and administrators, or the heads. Uh, if any of the elements is missing, so it will not be completed. And the learning process, or learning teaching process, will be, incomplete and fragmented. Well, the thing that I want to say, that it's really, this webinar, I can say it's an open letter for the parents. What I mean that maybe it's not an open letter for the parents in your world, but really in Arab world. Sometimes I feel that, like other teachers in Jordan, that you are saying things in heaven, really, because we have lots of parents that who are so busy, and they have other businesses that they are not really, they cannot feel free to come to the school, and they can, uh, share their ideas or thoughts with, teachers or administrators or whatever. This will be an open letter, because that we have to tell the parents that there are many ways that in which you can express interest in your children, your child's education. I mean, you parents, you can participate in the parent conferences. This is really great. So why we don't mean as teachers or as a school to, ask the parents to come and, and sometimes present. Why? Present something that cases or issues that are very important the teaching process, a learning teaching process, and they can share in the conferences. I like the thing that you said about training workshops. Sometimes really, I would like, because some of the parents here, or not of most of them in the public schools, that are teachers. The parents are teachers, so there is no problem. Also, some of them they are nurses or whatever. So it's easy to come to the school and just share the training and join training. Workshop training with the teachers. I'm really wed sometime with the idea that homeschooling. Why we don't bring parents, to the training, sessions and workshops that we can teach them and some strategies of, teaching English to their children at home, because really children feel and like and adore the things that sometimes the things that their parents teach them at home, and they want their teachers to follow the way or the methods that their parents teach them at home. Sometimes, the students said, teachers, please, can you teach me the way that my parents teach me this way, but you teach me in a different way. I don't like this. I like my parents. So why we don't ask them, the parents, and then we share ideas, we share some, common strategies and methods together, and we will be all on the same boat. So also we can encourage, we can ask the parents that you can encourage your children to complete the assignments, homework at home. And then you can also, your parents, take your active role to reinforce the value of English in our society, because English is not only inside the classroom. English is outside, whether in the society or at home or etc. Well, I remember one thing, that while I was teaching in Saudi Arabia, some parents they come to ask about their students, and then while discussing them about their students, their children situations at my office, then at the end he told me, please don't tell my child that or don't tell my son or daughter that I come and ask for them. They feel afraid of them. I don't know why. This is why I think that there is a hiatus, a big gap between teachers and the parents. We need to get rid of this gap, and then I think that they have to take their important part of education for their children in the world, or in the society. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Faisal, for those great points. You raised a lot of really good issues. And I think we just have to try it. I mean, I know that at the beginning, I used to think a lot of times that it was the parent. I would say, the parent is yelling. I remember when the parent, at the end of the year, I was like, well, I tried to get a hold of you. That's how I reacted. I said, I tried to get a hold of you throughout the whole entire year, and you didn't answer my responses. And the parent said, yeah, um, I did see your response. And I asked, I said, did your child give you, the communications and stuff that I tried? Or did you get my voice messages? Was it the right phone number? And the parent had told me, yes, I did. I just didn't, respond back. And they had come at the beginning of the year, at the end of the year to kind of argue, their child's grade. But, I asked myself, did I really do everything to make that a positive communication? And I hadn't. When it was my first year of teaching, you don't get a class on how to engage parents. And I tried to find a way that I could improve. And one of the ways was first have that first initial contact. Make sure that first week I talk to all the parents and make sure I tell them something really good about their child. And that was something that I hadn't done before. When I had contacted them, it was something to just say something bad about their child, but it wasn't ever to say anything good at the first initial contact. So I think, once you start off in the first step and you make sure you talk to every parent and it's positive and personal, I think you'll see a difference in the attitude. I really do. And this parent workshop, I made them Mexican food because I knew in Germany they weren't going to get any Mexican food. So I made them Mexican food, and they came uh, because they weren't going to have a chance to get Mexican food. So find something that will make your parents come. And like I said, record yourself in the presentation and mail it to the parents. The parents then don't have an excuse. And I think you would be surprised. It isn't that the parent doesn't want to get involved. It's that the parent probably worked, but a lot of the parents will actually see the videos and they will thank you for them. So that's my suggestions. Javier said he offered English classes and to his that he offered English classes to his parents. That's fantastic. That is really, really, really a great idea, to offer English. And Faisal says, make cookout parties. We actually did. With my students, we would have a barbecue. Every semester, and parents would come and everybody would come together with the students. And it was a swim party too. And it was great. Everybody had a lot of fun and we played games and it worked out really well. So, but thank you so much for coming. My email, if you need to get a contact with me, I am going to, as soon as we get off here, I'm going to do those certificates. So you can email me and you can get a certificate for this of attendance, and there will be a recording for next week. Thank you so much, and I will see you next Friday.